Istria 100K didn't quite go to plan. Whereas the plan is always to finish. That's the number one goal. And when you don't complete that, it just feels like a really big, hairy, crappy turd. So that's where I'm at right now, although it's tough to be upset when you're in Croatia. The race all started the morning of. We had to get up at some ridiculous hour, like 3:30 or so. Had to be at the bus at 4:30, and then it was off to the race start. The accommodations there were perfect. The race started off great. The big hitters there. There's Pablo Villa, the legend out of Spain, and a bunch of other guys that I didn't know, but I did know their records, and they were quite accomplished runners. The gun goes off, and everyone goes out fairly modestly, and I thought since the temperatures were cool, I was gonna make the most of it because I knew like later in the day I was just gonna melt. So I was just trying to get as many kilometers done as I could before noon and the rest of the day, because I was anticipating this was gonna take 11 hours. So starting at 7, I was gonna finish at 6 p.m., which I assumed noon to 6 p.m. was just gonna be a sufferfest. I didn't find out, of course. For the first, say, hour, we were just running up hills, mostly up hills. You make your way up to the top of the course, which is about at 1,000 meters, but it's really rolling and there's no steep bits that actually require hiking. We pretty much ran the entire way. It was good fun. It was actually great hanging out with. There was about 8 of us. Just got chatting to a couple of them. And it was fun, obviously, to see top runners like Pau Capel and those guys actually run in person. And surprisingly, I felt great. And I thought I wasn't pushing the pace. This is easy. These guys, like I could tell by their breathing, are working a little bit hard, but not too hard. So it seemed all equal. And then it turns out maybe I was pushing a little bit too hard, because about 2.5 hours in, I started getting a little bit clumsy. And this was the top bit of that hill has quite a bit of rocks. I took a tumble, hurt my hand. Not much. It actually looked worse than it was.
Done the highest hill, and it's pretty flat to the sea. Oh, crikey. A little spill.
But the worst part was about 3 hours into the race, it was coming off the top hill. From there, you head back down to the drop bag location, which is one of the aid stations. You can then run, it's almost flat all the way to Umag, which is the coastline of the sea. Going up the final hill, which is to the highest point, about 3 hours in, maybe less. I had overheated a little bit, so I was cooling it down. I was putting it into cruise control as, say, 7th or 8th at that point. I'd let the lead pack go because I knew they were climbing the last hill a little bit more quick than I could with maintaining a lower body temperature. So I started to put it in cruise control and going downhill, just letting it, and I was with, I guess, the 8th, 9th place guy. It was a little bit technical, but I wasn't paying too much attention. Went to jump off about a 2 foot, not high, just 2 foot, like say a little more than half a meter drop. Wasn't really paying attention. And I landed and I rolled my ankle.
I completely crushed my ankle. I usually roll my ankle every race, but this one was a very special kind of roll, and my ankle is now even muffin topping over my shoe. And it's taking forever just to get off of this freaking little hill. It's like Col Lasan coming down there. Anyway, it's been hobbling around for about an hour and 20 now, so over.
This time, it was one of those moments when you hear a popping noise and you know there's something not great, but there's no pain at first. And I've had this feeling before when I previously sprained my ankle quite badly and then broken a couple bones. You can hear the pop or the snap and there's no pain yet, but there's this weird feeling of, oh, that something's not right there. So I luckily grabbed a tree, or I would have just face planted into a whole bunch more rocks. Grabbed a tree, stood there for a while, tried to stand on it, and there's just nothing there. I just tried to stand on it and I couldn't. So I was like, I'm just gonna run it off like I always do. So started to hobble down the hill. Now it was starting to get painful, slowly get more painful, but I'm like, yeah, this happens, it gets painful. And then maybe 5-10 minutes later, it kind of disappears, it swells up a little bit, creates a protective brace, and then I can carry on. So I did do that, except this time it wasn't getting better, it was getting worse. And so it was slowly getting worse and worse and worse. I kept hobbling and hobbling. And by this time I now had to walk. I couldn't no longer hobble run. And so I was walking. Half an hour passed and I was like, oh, this is different. I've never had this before in a race. The other time that I did this was way back 15 years ago, and I was rushed to the hospital because they thought I broke my ankle. Luckily I hadn't, it was just a whole bunch of ligament damage. Now I'm hobbling back, and about an hour into this hobble fest, I realized, my race is over. The whole point of this race was to practice nutrition, practice running. And so if I can't practice running, I can't practice nutrition very well because I'm not moving anywhere. There was no point in me carrying on. I'd done this race before, so I knew the course. And it's not something that I was super excited about anyway. So I hobbled, and it took me an hour and a half of hobbling to get to the next aid station, which was, running-wise, would have taken me, I don't know, half an hour. So I was hobbled into there and I gave up my bib, and then you start to get all the feelings of like, what? I can't believe I just invested so much in this one race and now it's just over 4.5 hours plus with an hour and a half of hobbling. And it's a tough feeling. So much goes into these races, prep, and then even just the week of travel, the money costs associated with it as well.
Coming down one of those little hills, I can see that it's already swelling quite a bit. And my shoe's getting very tight around the top. You know, I think it's just my ankles telling me, don't run flat races. What are you doing?
So DNF'd. It's my second DNF. I previously only DNF'd Tour de Géant, which I thought really doesn't count as a DNF because that race is just so difficult. I didn't feel bad about actually DNFing, which was interesting. It was just more the lost opportunity. It doesn't bother me anymore that to not race if your objectives are not, you can't even accomplish them anymore. So could have hobbled it in? Yeah, probably. I could have hobbled it in under the time limit, but it would have just been a walk, and I'm not really here for a walk. So that was it. That was my race. Some good points, like running with the guys for an hour and a half or whatever, was at hills, make it look so easy. And then recover at the tops and then actually just take off was really beneficial.
Well, the one good thing about dropping out, well, there's no good things about dropping out, but one interesting thing about dropping out is I actually get to have a meal in a short race. And also just people watching the aid stations is the funniest thing ever.
Would I come back here? Probably not. So the next race, luckily, it's going to be in about a month and a half. So hopefully this sprain goes away. It's not bad. It's just more annoying than anything. So hopefully this goes away. And the next race is back into the mountains. I'm going to Austria near Salzburg for just kind of like a local race, which will be fun to do again. Back to mountain season. So hopefully the snow is melting quick. It's pretty hot in the Alps these days. So I will be back in the mountains where I enjoy it most. Definitely, I struggle with these running ones. I was making fun of this course quite a bit prior to coming in. It's runnable, it's hot, it's like on dirt roads. And it's kind of funny that I got beat up the most on a run like this. So maybe that's just a little bit of karma. Don't make fun of your races before you do them. Hey, thanks for watching. That's awesome. You know, we'll keep going with these race recaps a little bit, see how it goes. And next race, Austria.